Richardson, and you are watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. US President Trump signals restraint on Iran, saying he hopefully won't need military action and plans direct talks, while Pentagon officials affirm readiness. In Europe, the EU brands Iran's Revolutionary Guards a terrorist group, sparking protests in Brussels and warnings from EU leaders that the region can't afford another war. The US President has declared a national emergency and warned of tariffs on nations like Mexico that provide oil to Cuba, escalating trade tensions. Thailand's reformist politician Nathar Phayong emerges as front-runner in polls ahead of the February vote, signalling potential shifts in the country's political landscape. After meeting with potential candidate Kevin Warsh, US President Trump confirmed he will reveal his pick for Fed chair tomorrow amid calls for rate cuts. Following US pressure, the ruling aims to shift control over the strategic waterway, marking a significant geopolitical development. China warns to take appropriate measures. US financial markets see extreme volatility as sharp swings in gold and silver and equities lead to $9 trillion movement in capitalization. Trump continues trade war with Canada with renewed threats of discrediting Canadian-made aircraft and charge a 50% tariff on those planes. Towns in Australia's southeast swelter in temperatures close to 50 degrees Celsius as wildfires rage through parts of rural Victoria. And for your top story this hour, a US missile destroyer docked at Israel's southern Red Sea port city of Eilat. Israel's military say the arrival was pre-planned and part of ongoing cooperation between the Israeli and US armed forces. The docking comes as Washington moves more military assets into the Middle East, boosting both firepower and defensive capabilities. US officials say the build-up gives President Donald Trump added military options, including potential action against Iran, amid growing regional tensions. While American warships frequently operated in the Red Sea, their arrival at Israel's Eilat port is considered rare. We are now being joined by Nilüfer Ara, who is an Iranian woman and human rights activist in Turkey. Thank you so much for joining us here on NewsX World today. What message does the arrival of the US warship send about American support for Israel and the deterrence against Iran, and how might Tehran interpret it?
First of all, hi. Second of all, the message is that US is gonna stay with Israel. The first and the last message is this to Iran and to Tehran. And this is just a strategic point of view of mine, but this was pre-planned and they were going to do this, and they already said it that we are going to do this. So this is not a threat or something else like that. But Iran or Tehran or the politicians of Iran, they might take this as a threat because they had already threatened the United States of America and Israel and some other countries that they are ready to throw at least 1,000 drones, and they have bragged about their military capabilities. I think this is an answer to them, and this says that the U.S. is going to always stay with Israel and the people of geographic, like important geographic points of the Middle East. So they sent their military over there to protect everyone, and that's it.
Do you think an increased US naval presence in the Red Sea will it help prevent escalation, or do you think it risks provoking military response from Iran?
I think it will help them not attack. And honestly, because my father is from RRIB and they are connected with IRGC, I know these guys. I know their mentality. I know their point of views. So they needed to be threatened. This is their only way, and Trump has the right to do this, actually.
Mm. And how should regional players and global powers balance military readiness with diplomatic efforts to avoid a wider conflict in the Middle East?
I mean, this was just a revolution, and then it was like headed to a war, like an inside war in the country, in our country. And then when the people of Iran asked Trump or asked Netanyahu to attack them, all of a sudden it turned to a global issue. So for right now, for this kind of crisis, I really don't know who should like interfere or anything like this. But like I just know one thing, that President Trump or like Mr. Netanyahu is gonna do something and is gonna benefit everyone.
Mm. And do you think should Israel balance regular joint operations with the US against the need to provoke neighbouring countries?
I feel like sometimes yes, especially for Iran, because they keep threatening that they have nuclear weapons. And this is not just a threat to USA or Israel. This is a threat to all of us, to all of the humanity. Because as far as I know, the people in IRGC, if they get angry over something little, they might throw these nuclear bombs around the world, and they might like attack humanity. So these kind of things are needed to be done in order of the safety of the people of the world, not only the Israel people or like the United States people.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Niloufer. Don't go too far, as we will come back to you in just a moment. The Syrian government and the Kurdish-led group, the Syrian Democratic Forces, have said that they have agreed to a comprehensive ceasefire and have phased integration of military and administrative bodies into the Syrian state under a broad deal. Under the agreement, forces that have amassed on front lines in the country's north would pull back, and Interior Ministry security forces will deploy to the centres of the cities of Hasaka and Kamashli in the northeast. Both are currently held by the SDF, and the local security forces will be merged. This comes after the Syrian government forces under President Ahmad al-Shara captured swaths of northern and eastern Syria from the SDF and forcing the Kurdish forces to retreat into a shrinking enclave. We are now being joined again by Niloufer. Thank you so much for joining back with us. What does the possible change in date or location of the next US mediated talks say about the state? What does this ceasefire of the SDF integration mean for Syria's future and unity?
Okay, first of all, let's see something here. The Kurdish people near the Syria and Turkey were always trying to have their own land and own country, right? Especially one of the terrorist parts named PKK. They were all against Turkey, and they were all against Iraq or like against Syria all the time. And they were like saying that we want our own land, which I think they are wrong. This is their land. They are part of Turkey or part of anywhere that they are from. But at this point, this is just a waste dream, because this is not going to happen anymore. and this will benefit everyone.
And can bringing the Kurdish-led forces into the government really end years of fighting, or could tensions continue?
I mean, like these kind of fightings, I think it will continue for years, because they're not going to stop or what they think, because they think that they owe a land, which this is like, I mean, if I want to say really the truth, we have a lot of regimes, we have a lot of people. For example, I am Fars. In Iran, we have different people like Fars, Turk, Baluch, Lord. They don't come and say, we want our own land, because Iran is their land. Iran is my land. And it doesn't matter that where are we from? We are all Iranians. But they don't think like that. They don't think that, okay, they are Turkish too. The first thing that it comes to their mind is that, no, we are Kurdish, we want our own land. So I think these fights will keep continued.
Mm. And what challenges remain in ensuring the ceasefire holds and that Kurdish civil and educational rights are protected as part of this deal?
Actually, I don't know about this, so I'm not going to have any comments upon this, because if I give you anything further, it will be a wrong information or a wrong opinion.
Okay, no worries. And do you think long term that this is something that will benefit everyone? Do you think it is going to be a long-term solution, or do you think this is a short-term situation?
This is a short-term situation. The long-term is that, I mean, like, maybe they should start to negotiate with them again and try to make them understand some humanity things. But if they don't understand, then they should do something else.
Mm. Thank you so much for joining us here on NewsX World today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the next round of US-mediated peace talks with Russia may be delayed or moved. The meeting had been planned for 1st of February in Abu Dhabi, but Zelensky says the timing is now uncertain. Meanwhile, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Washington's top envoys will not attend the next round. Zelensky also said that negotiators have failed to reach a compromise on control of Ukraine's Donetsk region. He adds Ukraine will stop striking Russian energy targets if Moscow does the same. And Zelensky added Russia has halted prisoner of war exchanges with no swaps since October. We are now being joined by Glenn Grant, who is an ex-advisor to Defence Minister of Ukraine and geopolitical commentator. Thank you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World.
Yeah, thank you.
What does the possible change of date and location of the next US-mediated talks say about the state of the Ukraine and Russia diplomacy?
Well, basically, it says that nothing is happening, but we knew this. The pressure for compromise for Ukraine is all coming from US because Donald Trump, obviously, he wants a distraction from Epstein, and he wants a victory to say he's solved another war. But he's not putting any pressure on Russia at all. And Ukraine is willing to compromise a long way, but it's not willing to give up land. And so with both sides, with Russia demanding that land and Ukraine not willing to give it up, there's absolutely no chance of any progress forward but just fighting to win the war on one side.
And how important is the US mediation in keeping the Ukraine-Russia talks alive, and can it succeed if either side is unwilling to compromise?
Well, the answer to that is they're not keeping it alive. They're keeping it alive for America. They're keeping it alive for Donald Trump. And they're trying hard to persuade Ukraine to compromise. But then the US is not doing anything because, you know, they're saying unless you compromise, we won't give you security. Well, nobody, no leader in the world is going to accept that, especially from someone like Donald Trump, who's actually shown himself to be untrustworthy in his support of Ukraine. So we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere fast, I think, is the answer to that. But America, I suspect, under Rubio, will keep trying, and they'll keep trying and keep putting things into the air that kites that will not fly, I think, is the best description. Unless America gives substantial guarantees of support, i.e. joining NATO, don't expect much to happen in the near future.
How are disagreements over territory stopping progress in the peace talks?
Well, I mean, they are the complete block on progress. I mean, Zelensky cannot give up the land. It's quite clear that if he does that, there will be another Maidan, you know, another upsurge of national unrest, and he will be removed and someone else will be put in. And he can't afford that because he'll end up in prison, and he knows that. So he's got to stay stubborn and just say, we're not going to give up anything. And the country doesn't want to give up anything. On the other side, Putin has staked his claim for this. And if he suddenly compromises and he can't find a way to compromise, then he's going to be seen as being weak. But let's be clear about it. Putin does not want to compromise. You can see he has some feelings of justification. I mean, he's got Donald Trump in his pocket. He's got the Hungarian boss in his pocket, and quite a lot of other politicians, and a lot of weak European politicians as well.
Could stalled prisoner exchanges and lack of trust on humanitarian issues reflect deeper challenges that go beyond battlefield negotiations and complicate any peace deal?
I don't think that the prisoner exchanges are even part of the peace deal. I mean, they're a sideshow, and they're a sideshow because they're useful for both sides. Russia needs all the skilled people that it can get, and anybody who's been on the Ukraine side or who's fought first is going to be useful, because the turnover of Russian soldiers is so high that any soldier coming back who's got a modicum of skill is likely to be, you know, promoted fairly quickly and put back into the line. For Ukrainians, it's a human rights matter. The Ukrainians want their people back. They want their bodies back, and they're going to keep pushing to try and get Russia to release them. And Russia doesn't want to keep them because it costs them money and energy and time to keep prisoners. So it's far easier to get rid of them. But I don't see that these things are going to affect the peace deal at all. And you mentioned trust. There is no trust. Let's be quite clear. The Ukrainians cannot trust Russians who are both torturing, even castrating prisoners before they send them back. And if you're torturing and starving prisoners, then you can't trust a country like that in any way, shape or form.
What signals does the timing of these renewed attacks on Ukraine, on trains and on energy power grids, what message does that send to the international mediators and potential supporters of this peace deal about the next round of discussions?
I don't think there's any thought in the Russian minds about negotiations and peace deals and anything else at all when they're doing this, because Russia doesn't care. You have to understand, Russia has no desire to care about what anybody else is doing, except they want it to stop. That's all. They want support to stop. So what they're doing is focused completely and utterly on Ukraine. It's showing Ukraine that they are vulnerable. It's showing Ukrainians that Russia is going to win. It's showing Ukrainians that Russia has got better technology. And the better technology is the main thing. They are identifying different and better ways of attacking Ukraine in depth, of attacking civilians, and they're doing so. So that's the main focus for the Russians, is killing Ukrainians, as many as possible, as quickly as possible, to force them to surrender. That's not a timing thing per se. It's about when new technology becomes available to them, they use it as quickly as possible to put the pressure on Ukraine.
And how far away do you think we are from any start to a peace deal?
Oh, we're not. There's not going to be a peace deal. You have to understand this. This is an existential war, and therefore a national war. It's a fight to the death. There's no peace deal coming. It's not going to happen. Ukraine is going to keep fighting. Russia is going to keep fighting until one side collapses. Russia economically, possibly. Ukraine possibly just running out of manpower. But I don't think either side it's going to happen for a long time yet. So I think we may be 2, 3, even 4 years away still from a collapse on one side. Having said that, Russia could collapse tomorrow because that's the way Russia is.
Thank you so much, Glenn Grant, for joining us here on NewsX World. Taiwan has completed the first underwater sea trial of its first domestically built submarine. The vessel, named Narwhal, carried out a shallow water submerged test off the southern port of Kuchang. The trial marks a major step in Taiwan's push to strengthen deterrence against China's navy and protect key sea lanes in any conflict. The submarine is part of an indigenous program aimed at building up to 8 vessels, despite delays and political pressure from Beijing. The project has drawn on technology and expertise from the United States and Britain. The submarine will use a US-made combat system and carry Mark 48 heavyweight torpedoes. Taiwan says it hopes to deploy at least 2 of the new submarines by 2027 as it modernizes its forces for asymmetric warfare against a far larger Chinese military. The Pentagon is at odds with artificial intelligence developer Anthropic over safeguards that would prevent the government from deploying its technology to target weapons autonomously and conduct US domestic surveillance. Anthropic has stated that its AI is extensively used for the national security missions by the US government and that they are in productive discussions with the Department of War about ways to continue that work. The San Francisco-based startup is preparing for an eventful public offering as it also has spent significant resources courting US national security businesses and sought an active role in shaping government AI policy. However, Anthropic is one of the few major AI developers that were awarded contracts by the Pentagon last year. Others were Alphabet's Google, Elon Musk's xAI, and OpenAI. That's all we have time for this hour. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.